It is under Epicurist. Brian.
There, live. Got it.
But this is not working now, Brian.
What?
There we go. No, that's not what I wanted. There we go. It's working.
Oh, I see it.
Okay. All right. So we had a little bit of technical issues there. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear and see. So we are going to start in a little bit. We're just going to have our technician to go and check to make sure all the sound is working and that everyone can see everything. Okay? Are we good to go? Brian, technical stuff? All right, so we are going to start.
Technical is my dog.
Okay, so
I'm on Facebook Live. Can you stop? Thank you. It's been quiet until now.
Yeah. All right, so I am here with Lisa Paperno. She is a lovely dietitian, nutritionist, and a McGill graduate. She's been working for the past 28 years as a pediatric clinical nutritionist at the Montreal Children's Hospital. She's also has a counseling practice, a private counseling practice in the West Island, where she takes care of adults and children. And she's been happily married for the last 28 years and is a proud mother of 2 young men, 19 and 22 years old, who are studying via Zoom, Zoom University, as they like to say it. So in her personal leisure time, she likes to have play hockey, Zumba, Pilates, and swimming, and taking walks with her lovely puppy called Bachi, and she also has a passion for traveling, cooking, baking, entertaining, and also loves to learn different world cuisines. And we are here today to actually learn world cuisines.
I'm all ears.
So today we are going to be talking a little bit about tapas. The topic today is going to be tapas. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a wonderful cuisine. Tapas originated in Spain. In terms of the history, it's very entertaining, of course. Some believe that it was created for a king. However, the more common belief was that bartenders would place a piece of bread on top of the drink that they were serving to actually stop the flies going into the drink. So that is the more common belief. So there is different traditional tapas. So traditionally you have what we call pincos, and these are we're going to talk about it soon. It's bread, baguettes or barquettes, and then we also have a cheese and charcuterie platter, and then we have cold tapas, and of course we have hot tapas. So we are going to be talking about all of that. So I am going to leave it over to Lisa, where we are going to discuss about how we can create tapas to create a balanced and wonderful cocktail. You know, it's a tapas cocktail, tapas party for the holidays. So over to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Jeanette. That was a nice introduction. I think it's a great topic, because choice. It's fun, it's interesting. There's lots of variety, and you can make it healthy. The nice thing about tapas is that because they're all little plates, you can really have different ones to suit different guests. You might have guests that are gluten-free, or a vegetarian or vegan, low calorie, low carb, keto. So everybody could have something to choose from when you're picking tapas. If you want it to be a meal instead of just an appetizer, then you just make sure that when you're choosing your ingredients, that you're picking something from all the food groups. So you have something that has protein in it, you've got some fruits and veggies, you could even have dairy. I think we'll see some of that going through today, as well as fresh ingredients, and a tip for everybody to enjoy. I think the other great thing with tapas is that we don't really know what's going to happen this season. So if we are doing Zoom tapas and we have a few friends in the neighborhood, maybe a few of them can make a few tapas. We can deliver them to each other's door, and then we can have a Zoom meeting and enjoy not only what we cook, but what other people have cooked. And I think one of the other amazing things with tapas is that, unlike going to a restaurant and ordering a meal, where you're kind of committing to a full meal, with tapas you can be a little bit daring. You can try something that you haven't tried, even if you're not too adventurous. The worst that'll happen is you'll have a bite full of something you're not too crazy about.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is actually really good points about the different ways that we can incorporate tapas. You know, in general, you know, some COVID, and then also, you know, adapting it with COVID right now. We are all making some amazing adaptations. What we're going to do is that we are actually going to start straight away. We are going to start discussing the different types of sections of the tapas. So the first thing that I wanted to show you guys here is a charcuterie platter. Now, definitely there's no doubt about it. There is this cheese, there's meats and everything. It's one of those issues where we, you know, we're all face it. We go to a special occasion and we are faced with something that, you know, it has high in fat. It has high in you know, different things and everything, and we should not really be consuming much of it. So how would you, Lisa, suggest to navigate with for people? Like, how would they actually navigate this?
Well, I think there's different situations, right? There's situations where we're in control and we're actually making the tapas ourselves. In that case is kind of what's going on today. You've made some changes to the menu compared to the tradition, right? Yes. The tradition of tapas, if you go back, has a lot of mayonnaise. And not to spoil what you're going to do, but you've chosen some yogurts, either, you know, with probiotics in it, or the ones that have lower fat or higher protein, like Greek yogurts. So that's a good opportunity. If you're in control, a lot of the ones are fried. So instead of frying them, you can use either a convection oven or an air fryer. I think when you're not in control, then you're going somewhere else to think that, you know, you pick a variety of things. And also to remember that on those days, they're special days. And we have to be careful that we don't get so restrictive and so thinking about whatever it is. I mean, a food allergy would be a different situation. But when we're talking about maybe somebody who's being a little careful about their weight or their health or their nutrition, maybe making sure that they pick things from different food groups. You know, if they know that they have to watch for salt, they can pick a little less charcuterie, a little less, and pick something different. I don't know if that's what you were thinking about. But,
yeah, it's something that I think we all face, right? We go where we're working on taking care of ourselves, and then we are, you know, faced with this buffet and this beautiful buffet with lots and lots of stuff, and then it's how to navigate that, you know, how to go around with that. So what we got, one of the traditions is the pinkios and everything, is where you have the charcuterie platter, but what you also have is that you have your different sauces. So you can have, what we've done is that traditionally you will have mayonnaise, lots and lots of mayonnaise, garlic mayonnaise, different aiolis, all sorts. So what I've done here is that I've made a garlic sauce, but with the probiotic yogurt. So rather than using, getting rid of the mayonnaise, having that. So what would you be able to say about this option, having the yogurt, the garlic yogurt mix?
Well, obviously you've made a good choice. I mean, that makes a big difference. We're going to have a little bit more protein, calcium in that instead of having just fats. Obviously, there's health benefits from the garlic as well, but I don't think we'll be eating enough. But a little bit of everything. I think the other thing is the quantity.
Yeah.
So portion control, right? So if you enjoy a little charcuterie or a little bit of cheese, and it tends to be higher salt, higher fat. I think what's nice about this is that it's not the only thing that's in front of you. You've got a bit of different choices that you can go get, depending on what your needs are as well.
Okay, so the other sauces that we have is, this is a beautiful one. I enjoyed making it. This is a vegetable sauce. So in this vegetable sauce, it's very much like a bruschetta. So you have tomatoes, you have onions, you also have cucumbers, peppers. It's got a little bit of garlic in it, salt and pepper, and a little bit of olive oil. So this is not a heavily fat-based, not like a mayonnaise. And this is a very much a traditional Spanish dip that they have with that.
That's a lovely choice. I think that, having a balance of not just, the fattier sauces, not that your yogurt is fatty, but you've already made that change. But that's a nice, fresh, full of vegetables. I think it also will cleanse the palate as well. I think it'll be beautiful for that. The other thing, too, is you're using fresh ingredients, and one of them is tomatoes. Mm-hmm. And we know that with tomatoes, there's different components in it, like lycopenes and all kinds of antioxidants that are just wonderful for different things, from the eyes to cancer fighting. I mean, obviously, it's not a little bit of that sauce, but it's having a little bit of many nutritious things that will come together and give us some good health.
Okay, and then the last one as well, I actually made a very, very simple guacamole, which, although I wouldn't necessarily say it's Spanish, but we opted to, based on our discussions, we opted to have avocado. So this is just simply avocados, a little bit of garlic, lemon juice, salt and pepper, and olive oil. I did need to put olive oil because it was just not pureeing as fast.
No.
But that's
and many times the guacamole, they actually put the mayonnaise. So with the olive oil, you've chosen a healthier oil, monosaturated oil. The same thing as the avocado is also a monosaturated fat. What's nice about your presentation there is that whatever you choose as your base, for example, your baguettes, and you can use that to sort of secure it together. Mm-hmm. It's going to, any kind of fat, apart from it's good fat, but on top of that, it vehicles, right, the flavors. Mm-hmm. Having a bit of fat is going to make it more palatable. Mm-hmm. And make it stick all together as well. So I think that's a beautiful choice.
Yeah. And so the last one, and now traditionally we could do barquettes. However, I opted to do baguettes, just simple baguettes, because I do think that this is something that people will have, will sort of go for more than anything. But rather than just having white baguettes, I opted to get the multi-grain. So we discussed about getting multi-grain baguettes rather than just regular. And I could see the amount of seeds in there. It's whole wheat. I see that there's like flaxseed in there. It's quite something in there. So
yeah, that's a nice choice. I think it also adds a bit of interest. And I mean, in this case, that's a great base for all the sauces and other things that you have. But I think somebody can also opt to have swap out maybe some of the bread and maybe take something more that's like a little rusk or a little crisp. You could even, really interesting is you can use a dried fruit. I'm not saying this is going to be low calorie, but it'll be certainly interesting, right? You could have anything from a little apricot with something on it and a little walnut on top. You could also maybe choose to make some sweet potato rounds in the oven, which makes it a little bit crispy, and you can have that as your base. I think you can just have a lot of fun with that. I mean, there's so many different choices that you can have, even a pear, even an apple, even an endive, right? So you can choose some of the things that are missing. If you're making your tapas and you're feeling like, wow, I don't have a lot of one of those food groups, then you can go ahead and think, maybe making my base. Yeah. What I mean by a base is what you're going to be, your little, it's almost like your little plate, what you're going to pile up your ingredients on to make a little tapas.
Yeah. So from a culinary perspective, it's basically what it is that the base is there's a sort of a principal concept in this. So there's a base that could be anything, and many people think that the base needs to be a heavily carved base, like a piece of bread or something like that. And it doesn't have to be. Like you said, it could be an endive. It could be like what we have here. You could have cucumbers.
Yes.
Whatever it is, does have to be strong enough to be able to hold the toppings, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a carb per se. It doesn't have to be a cracker. It doesn't have to be anything like that. And that really gives a different dimension to the actual canapé itself. Okay, so we're going to move.
And Jeanette, I think what's good about that is that that's where you're going to have to think of who your crowd is.
Yeah.
So if you've got people who are following keto or low fat, people who are gluten free, then it gives you the opportunity to go and pick some of the bases that will be appropriate for your guests.
Yeah. So I just want to show here that we got, this is a good example of, so we've got the base, and then we have a little bit of Spanish ham, and then also I put the fruit, the vegetable sauce on top. It's very simple. Yes, we do have the meat, but it's a small portion of it. And then after that, you have the vegetables. It's colorful, it's different and everything. And then of course we do have the cheese. So here I did put a very simple little bit layer of the garlic sauce, and then after that I put the cheese on top. And I just decorated it and everything, but very simple. There's nothing really, really complicated. So that's sort of like the first part. This is very, very common in Spain, where you have meals like that, and then people just sort of pick through it and everything. The other one that we have is the salmon, and I'm not sure whether anyone would be able to see this, because I think we are having technical issues, but nevertheless, we got the salmon right here. And this salmon is actually on a base of a cucumber. So this one's very easy to make. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. So I have got a piece of cucumber that I put in salt. So the salt you need to sprinkle the salt on top, because it actually drains. It drains the excess water out. And then all I'm going to do is add a little bit of the guacamole, the avocado mix here. And then I've got a piece of salmon here. Let me peel that off here. There we go. And then what I do, and what you guys are noticing here, is that I'm actually doing multiple options with the same sort of ingredients, because we don't want to have a grocery list of 50 things and then 50 different things and everything. So we want to try and use things over and over again. So I got that garlic sauce. Okay, and I'm just spreading it out here on the smoked salmon. And then all I do is roll this up, very simple. Roll it up so it's like a little roll. I'll let it hang out a little bit, and then I actually place it on top. Really, really simple. And I'll get a little garnish here. Very simple and very easy to make. So this is it right here. So really, I mean, it took me, what, 2 minutes to make? It was a lot of, it's very easy to do. And like I said, we're using the sauces that we already have here. So we're not necessarily, like I said, we're not buying multitudes of different things. You know, we're actually, you know, reusing what we have. And then the other one, so that is a cold one. And then, of course, we have the hot tapas. And really, the hot tapas is just a grilled shrimp. And normally what we do is that we can just put the grilled shrimp onto a toothpick like this. It's hot. These have got a little bit cooled down. Very easy to do. Those are hot, and that is a hot tapas as well. So I'll do a few of those.
So by choosing seafood, especially your salmon, you've incorporated, of course, protein, which will sustain people at your party. And it's really good. You've got also a kind of polyunsaturated fat, omega-3s. And the omega-3s are essential for the body. And so we need to get them through the food. And fish is one of them. And we can get them through nuts as well if you have any garnishes like that. But definitely a good choice. And also you're at that point, some vegetarians will absolutely be eating fish.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yes, there are some vegetarians. I do notice that in a lot of Spanish cuisine, because Spain is just on the coast, there's a lot of seafood. So, you know, they're mountains of different seafood, everything from, you know, grilled octopus to all sorts of stuff. So it definitely is a part of the of their cultural, the way they eat and everything. I've noticed a lot as well. A lot of the cheeses. There's a lot of goat cheese. There's a lot of using goat's milk with everything. So that is something as well that I've noticed, that they really are using what they have on the land, which is really nice, actually. It's not necessarily mass produced, so it's interesting. So.
No, and then there's different laws in Europe where they're actually going to have more probiotics in. Yes. I mean, we can have some of them here as well, more the raw cheeses, but definitely we'll have some probiotics in some of those foods, depending if they're pasteurized or not.
Yeah.
So.
So those are just a sample of the sort of tapas that we have. We also have one of the tricks. We are actually going to talk to you, let you speak about the different tricks that we can manage while navigating through any party, really, any sort of party, but in particular a tapas party. What they can do, what our audience can actually do to, support maintain that balance. So.
Well, one of the things that we always want to show up at a party, not being super hungry. So want to make sure that we haven't waited all day, not eaten a thing, and then show up. I noticed a nice picture of water on with fruits, and you can have special ice cubes if it's summertime. Now it's not, but with mint or something like that. And when it's cocktails, if you only have sangria, wine, cocktails, it could maybe get a little bit too much if you're driving home, if you're actually going somewhere. And also, we sometimes forget that alcohol can be a very big source of calories. And especially if we're thirsty, having a nice pitcher of some interesting water, a little flavored water like that is definitely a good choice. I think also, if you're making the tapas, not so much navigating through them, but you're making, what's nice is that sometimes you use those higher fat and higher salt as little toppings, so a little bit, I saw that you have some cheeses, so those can be a little bit of granulated on top, or you're adding some of the higher salt or higher fat foods to another component, like the yogurt, like you did. Were you thinking more about when you're actually going to somebody else's party?
Yeah.
Like how to navigate through that?
Yeah, how to navigate through something like that. How to really, if you're going to, not now obviously, but I remember many times where I'm going to a large party, an office party, and having to navigate that kind of thing. It's like they've got the food everywhere, they've got their, and all the drinks coming and everything. And, you do have to navigate that. Like you say, you have to be able to drive home. You need to be sober, so
right.
It's sort of navigating that. So I did think about the water. In this water, I have lemons and I also have cucumbers in there to give a nice.
That's really nice and fresh.
Yeah, it gives a nice, refreshing taste and everything. And then, sort of, would you say that maybe as you are eating, you're also drinking water as well to sort of.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
I think staying well hydrated, it makes a huge difference also. Many of us will find ourselves headed for the fridge.
Yeah.
And I'll say the buffet table or the tapas bar. And really what's happening is we're dehydrated. Yeah. And so until you're really, really dehydrated a lot, you're actually triggers your hunger. Okay. So drinking is absolutely a wonderful thing. And another way to navigate is instead of just having, a tapas off of the plates, if they're set up on a buffet style or in little tables and you want to be mindful of what you're choosing, maybe do something similar to what we would do for a main meal, where we have a nice plate. I know the tapas plates tend to be small and we put a few. But, you take something a little bit starchy, and take something a little bit full of protein, and maybe something that has a little yogurt and something that has a fruit or a veggie part. And as soon as you see the different variety on your plate, you know that by the end of the evening, you've got a good variety that will provide you maybe that you'll feel satiated. You're not going to feel hungry at the end or soon after. And I think sometimes putting it on a plate actually makes you aware, mindful of how many plates you filled versus just kind of walking around and popping them into your mouth and being sort of distracted. So I think that that's not a bad idea. I realize the tapas plates are small, but even if you get 4 tapas on there, you get the feel for a little bit of variety.
Yeah. And also sometimes I've heard some tricks as well is that, have smaller plates, because one of the I think, what I hear so many times is that the challenge is that the portions are always too big. In general, we always eat portions that are oversized. And one of the tricks that I've seen in food service and everything is to have smaller plates. And you have smaller plates, and then your portions are a little bit more, realistic. It's more what you should be consuming and everything. And also the other thing is that I think there's because I'm not a dietitian, I've seen all of this and everything. It's this idea that in order to eat healthy, you need to sacrifice. And I think that's a mindset that really, it's inevitable that you're going to fail with this. You have to live without. You have to not enjoy yourself. And that, I don't think, is what dietitians are trying to say. They're saying,
no, not at all.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was saying. If you show up, a lot of the time you show up hungry because you know you're going to eat a lot, and you're trying to make that restriction, and see a lot of people do that. And the other thing is too is that viewing foods as good or bad. So you can see by the beautiful setup that you have all kinds of foods. Some of them dabble into the traditional that are higher fat or higher salt. And there is still ways, like you said, to navigate through it in incorporating some of those salty and higher fat into smaller amounts, just to give a nice little punch of food, of a flavor to something. I'm thinking something like a, you know, kind of a blue cheese, like a roquette. That's the, is that the vegetable, right? But the roquefort?
A Roquefort cheese, yes.
I was going for roquette there.
That's good too.
You know, those kinds of things. And so absolutely, and try not to view food as good and bad. You know, trying to see them that the foods that are a little bit less, you know, desirable, that they have a bit too much of something we need to be cautious about, then to make sure that using our plate, we put less of that on there. In your case, you didn't have anything fried, but I would say that in many tapas parties, when you're not in control, and even the average little cocktail party, there's a lot of things that come from the freezers of some major stores, a lot of fried things. And so I would say that you can enjoy some. It's not all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
Think about the portion size and how often you choose it. Because a lot of the time dieting or being very restrictive gives you a mindset that makes it kind of backfires on you.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely, I see the convenience out of those, the supermarket prepackaged frozen items. Definitely, it is convenient. All you need to do is spread them out onto your baking sheet and put them in to the oven. You know, it's definitely easy. And again, what you're saying is that it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, you know, how much of that do you eat? You know, it shouldn't only be that. So it's
and if you're planning a tapas party, I think you can see that you've got everything from the hot, the cold, the ones that people will actually prepare themselves and choose how much sauce they put and how much topping they put. But would you say that when you're doing the advanced planning too, that some of them you could have prepared in advance and have them in your freezer so that you're not last minute? And that allows you to have some fresh and some things that you can pop in the oven. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, it can be something from a store, but it could also be something that you've prepared at a larger scale and kept a few on the side. You pull them back out and you enjoy them. I think when we were looking at the menu, we also talked about little mini soups.
Yes.
So you could have made a beautiful soup maybe a couple of weeks ago, and you freeze it, but when your guests come, you put them in a little shot glass with a little crouton or a little something. So, you know, trying to think a little bit outside the box so that you go get a bit of nutrition from different places, you know, and that can give you a little hot shot as well.
And that is so fun to do, and that is one of the easiest canapes that you could possibly do, because you can, like you said, you can make this a week before your party, freeze it, and then after that warm it up, and all you do is pour it into the little shot glasses, and there you go.
I think there's a little wow factor, right? When you have a little shot glass and just a little sip of soup with a little crouton on top or a little topping. I think the idea is to have fun and be creative.
Yes, absolutely, and that's one of the things that I like about tapas is that it's creativity in small portions that you get to taste on multiple levels. So it's not necessarily, you know, you order a steak and then that's it. You know, it's really you're choosing very small items and then just getting a taste of flavor. It's a discovery, and that's what I like about the whole setup that we have here. Like I mentioned, when I created this menu, one of the points that I wanted to keep in mind was the fact that no one wants to go shopping over and over and make this long list and this and the budget can go out of this world and everything. This was actually relatively inexpensive. It was not out of control. So, and again, I'm using those different sauces. Even for the shrimp can be traditionally also the shrimp can be used with the pinkos, with the bread and everything. That is something. It's basically you creating what you want, So it's a discovery, an opportunity to discover. So.
And if we have a tapas number 2, we, something that you can't do everything in a half an hour, but something to think about is something a little sweet. And it doesn't necessarily have to always be, you could have baked something and frozen it and have little squares of that with a little fruit on the side. Or I think, with the beautiful cheeses that you have there, we could even, depending on the season, pears with a little bit of cheese and a walnut.
Yes.
We talked about it before. Maybe you have beautiful ham, and you were saying you use just a little bit. So you could have a fig wrapped around with the ham and a little bit of a blue cheese on top, and it kind of starting to go into the sort of the sweetness for the dessert, and very also traditionally European to have a cheese and fruit towards the end of the meal.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is more or less what we've got here. Just to finish, to sort of round things up, just tell me, Lisa, what kind of services do you offer in your private services?
So in my private clinic, I actually see both children and adults. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people come to see me just to find out, just to tease through, what goes on in magazines and social media. And some people will just say, we're 4 different people, 4 different body shapes and sizes, 4 different levels of activity. What do? I have a busy life, and how can I make this work? So some people don't have a medical reason. Mm-hmm. It's just, I call it just healthy nutrition, to learn how to navigate through reading labels, a bit what you did today, how to simplify everyday life and still make it, you don't have to be a gourmet chef, you are, but not everybody is going to be, and how to keep it simple but still find proper nutrition. So that would be the most basic things that I will do. More with people who have allergies or conditions, whether it's with gluten, with allergies, people with eating disorders. I have a huge clientele with eating disorders, and I always say I don't need to only meet people with eating disorders, but sometimes disordered eating or confused eating. Mm-hmm. People who have struggled with their weight, learning to be a little bit more intuitive with their eating, learning to be a little bit more kind to themselves, and just be mindful of their relationship with food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
diabetes is another one.
Sorry?
I do a lot. Diabetes is another specialty, but if you're not sure if there's ever anybody who needs, they just need to call and they can find out what I do, and it'd be my pleasure to meet up with them if there's anybody.
That's wonderful. All right, so you are located on the West Island?
Yes, and these days I'm Zoom.
So you're located on Zoom.
There's no more barriers now.
No, that's it. And that's the great thing. It's good. It's wonderful. COVID has brought a lot of amazing qualities out in humanity. It also has a few challenges, but we will focus on the positive.
That's right. I think we'll come out of this a little wiser tech-wise with all our glitches. We've all learned from them. And I think we've opened up horizons that we didn't have before. So let's look at positive things.
Yeah. So just to finalize everything, I do have, because I did have some requests for a tapas meal, private tapas meal. Obviously through COVID, it cannot be face-to-face or coming into the home. So therefore, I've created a different way of doing it. So, it's via video conferencing and everything. So it is to learn hands-on how to do all of these and so much more. So I am going to be also talking about It's a beautiful one. It's a canapé with an endive base. With a little bit of blue cheese sauce, but just a little bit of blue cheese, but it's actually made with yogurt. And that is made with sauteed pears and walnuts that goes on top of that. So that is a nice complex. It's not complex to make, but in terms of flavoring, it's a very complex, very dynamic flavor. We will also be learning really all the different tips and techniques with this. We're going to be doing ham using the Spanish ham. We're going to be making mini frittatas. So there's a lot of options of trying to get away necessarily from having a base of, having a bread all the time. It's, breaking away and doing different things and everything. So that I'm going to be launching as of tonight. And it's going to be in the links if anyone wants to sign up or message me for more information. So that is it. So it's going to be sort of like this, which is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm quite proud of myself for creating all of this.
It looks fabulous.
It does.
And I think what's nice about it is that although you're a chef and you could get really complicated, I think what I love about tonight's menu is that you've made it accessible for everybody who's not a chef.
Yeah.
You've simplified it. It's beautiful. There's a little wow factor in just about every dish that you put out there, from presentation to choices of ingredients. And I think that sometimes in a busy world, people will really appreciate having a nice spread of tapas like that.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Lisa, for coming on. This is absolutely fabulous. So if anyone has any questions for Lisa, by all means, we will check in the messages, and Lisa and I would be very happy to answer any questions. It's been absolutely fun. Absolutely fun being here and everything. Lisa and I have talked a lot in the last 2 weeks, and it's been absolutely amazing. For sure, she's going to be coming back because we just had so much fun.
It was fun.
It was.
And now we're better at Teams, maybe.
Yeah, tech-wise, we're still working on it, but it was a lot of fun. It was really an amazing experience. So that's it. So we are done for the night, and if you have any questions, post them in the comments, and we will be happy to answer them. So that's all for now.
If you attended, please post to tell us who was there, where you're from. And we will at least say hello back. If you don't have questions, it will be a pleasure.
Yes, we want global. So, post where you're from, what country you're from. I want to see how many countries we can meet for this.
Yes, I think we'll see. We'll see.
All right. So thank you very much. And
thank you.
You have a wonderful evening. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.